a waste to not see everybody, and I'm sorry that we have to meet on this type of occasion, but I just want to remind people that this really is a celebration of life, okay? To celebrate our good friend Kevin and his family. So just keep that in mind. You know, we have a short program because we don't want to keep people outside too long, and the food's already here. And just a few admin announcements. You're free to walk around whatever you want. My neighbors, don't worry about them. Especially that big church right next door. Okay, and I hope you're able to park there. The restrooms are inside. Just go through the doors you see there, and then turn to the right. And if you don't want to be outside, you can stay inside and hang out. The food will taste just as good. So I only ask one thing, that, you know, I spent the whole week ironing tablecloths. So if nobody compliments me, I'm going to be really upset. Anyway, no, just kidding. No, I really wasn't ironing. But anyway, again, I don't see Siri's here, my wife. She should be here because she did like 90% of this. So anyway, thank you. And to start things off, I would just like to do a ceremonial popping of the champagne bottle to show that this really is a celebration of life. Because what type of celebration would this be without champagne and people and laughter and music and testimonials?
Wow.
I am going to cut the bottle with this knife. Yes.
Let's get out of it.
Okay, move 15 feet away. Wait. Cameras.
Cuts right off. So here's the thing. Anybody can open a champagne bottle with a corkscrew. But you need a knife to chop these things off, and it actually tastes better. So the reason I did that was just to keep this champagne bottle next to Kevin here in the urn, because he liked a good drink, and I'm going to miss drinking with him and everything. So thank you.
Did you bring a match?
I don't have a match. I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. So this afternoon, we're going to have some music. We're going to have some remembrances shared by family and friends. More music, and then we're going to eat and visit. You know, as Sonny said, many of us haven't seen each other for, it seems like, ages, right? Although it's been ages, you don't seem to have aged at all. I was looking for somebody who did a makeover, but none of you even made makeovers. So we are who we are, right? Just like who you were 2 years ago. You know, it's very propitious that we meet in this garden, that we gather to share grief, sadness, to acknowledge the pain of loss. But we're also here to celebrate, as Sonny said, to remember our friendship with Kevin and how he connected us in many ways in the community and all the things that we've done over the years. And it's also propitious that we're meeting in mid-September. You know that song, September? Many of us are in the September of our lives, right? The grass is still green, the leaves are still green, but soon it'll be fall and the colors will change. And the days will dwindle down to a precious few. And so we celebrate who we are at this time today. And as we share our reminiscences and recollections of Kevin, we will also remember those friends who have departed. You all remember Mitzi? Yes. You know, the last time we met in this house, I think was when Mitzi was still very much vibrant and alive, and I can never forget the way she roasted Patrick Chuasoto. And she brought the house down, and that was the inimitable Mitzi. Her spirit still ripples with laughter in this place. And of course, we remember Elby Bangit and Rita Atkins and Mama Leo and Alma and Nini and Mr. Almeida, friends who have passed. So Kevin brings us here to remember all those connections with those people. And we thank Kevin and Maurice for that. You know, the Queen of England just died, so Kevin is up there gallivanting with the Queen. And you know, there's something the Queen said that I think is very appropriate for today. She said, grief is the price we pay for love. Grief is the price we pay for love. So my friends, as we proceed and listen to remembrances from family and friends, let me just share one other thought. It's been said that when you see something beautiful, like a painting, or a watercolor painting by Ronnie, or a sunset, or listen to a symphony, or you look at the face of your beloved, that it opens up cracks inside you, right? It opens up cracks inside you, so that the light will shine through. And so is it as well with grief and sorrow. It opens up cracks inside us so that the light will keep us from falling into despair. Because today is not a moment to despair, but to celebrate and to thank Kevin for bringing us together. So for our opening song, and you have copies of the song sheets, we'd like for you to sing along with us because Kevin loves to sing, by the way. So let's sing our hearts out while our ukulele ensemble of Carolyn Castro and Alvin Alegrido will lead us in the singing of Today and It's a Wonderful World. No. All right. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. I'll be a dandy and I'll be a rover. You know who I am by the songs that I sing. I'll teach at your table, I'll feed in your bowl. Who cares what tomorrow may bring? Today, while the blossoms will cling to the vine, I taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. All right, the next song is What a Wonderful World. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, a bright blessed day, and Arctic the time right, thank you very much for singing along with us. I'm sure Kevin is very much delighted to hear your voices. And now, friends, it's time for reminiscences and remembrances and recollections. And we'll start with family members who will come and share with us their own thoughts about our dear friend Kevin. So let me call on Tanya to start us off. Tanya?
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. It's great to see so many people here gathered for my father today. And very fitting that you sang that song because I can remember him playing that song in the car on a lot of our trips, summer road trips when I was little. I remember him playing that Louis Armstrong song on our cassette player. Anyway, I wrote something for today that I'd like to read. So here goes. I was walking around the Coast Guard base last week on a warm, sunny day and saw a dull brown leaf on the ground. It had 3 curved protrusions on each side and 1 on the tip. That's an oak tree leaf, I thought. I know, because I have one just like it glued to the lid of a cardboard box labeled oak in my dad's handwriting. And next to it, a birch leaf, a maple leaf, and several other types of leaves. My dad and I collected them when I was maybe 4 or 5, as he often turned our family nature walks into projects, picking up leaves off the ground to study, research, and display later, always eager to share his love for science with us. I also have collections of rocks and crystals and volcanic ash samples, countless lunar and planetary facts ingrained into my brain, and a 2nd grade report on our goldfish Nemo. Good memories. He inherited his love for science from his parents, both science teachers. And our house was filled with maps, globes, National Geographics, model trains, paintings of planets, Mars in particular, as well as places he has visited. As you can see, the Mojave Desert is over there. And I think that's Saturn over there. And although I am no scientist, it brings me comfort and a feeling like he is still with us to see that same love live on in the next generation with our biologist, our mechanic, our educator, and our little adventurer. He lives on in them and in my mind. I've seen the leaves fall on the ground for 40+ years, but this year it made me think of him. Resurfacing memories I haven't thought of in decades, and turning things I took for granted into gold. Even now, buckling my seatbelt, something so mundane, now brings me back to summer trips, driving down country mountain roads, Kai and I, laid out on the folded seats of the station wagon, no seatbelt, no car seat, back when that was legal, drawing for hours and hours or hanging out the back window singing "I've Been Working on the Railroad" or listening to Dad's convoy song on the cassette player. Lots of good memories, traveling to the Appalachians, to Washington State, to Japan, to the Philippines. And the Philippines. That time, he went to Puerto Galera and he walked off the edge of a cliff to get a shot of the sunrise and fell into the ocean. I remember him walking up a path from the beach with blood dripping down his head, saying he got a great shot, unfazed or unaware how he looked like he was returning from war or something. That dad, always tempting fate in his creative quests, from trapeze artist to rocket scientist to photojournalist. I think my sister will get into that later. He definitely didn't let his predisposition to accidents get in the way of his sense of adventure. It was an amazing month of island hopping and tropical beaches of Mindoro and Bawang. more good memories. As I drive to and from DC every day, as he did when he was my age, working on various city projects as he did when he was my age, working extra jobs to put my kids through college like he did when he was my age, I feel like I am walking in his footsteps. Commuting past the Air Force Memorial, the Chinatown Archway, the Hawk and Dove restaurant where my parents died 50 years ago, just felt routine and ordinary until a few weeks ago. And now passing by all those places feels special because they carry so much history, so many memories, and so many stories before I even existed. The oak leaf last week reminded me that we are amidst a change in season, like John said. Fall is coming. A chapter in life has closed, and we enter a new one whether we're ready for it or not. Moving on, we can only treasure the good memories, and I am ever so grateful for all the ones I have. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Next, we will hear from my sister Michelle, who is going to read a letter written by my dad's sister, Karen Agnew, up in Washington State.
From my Auntie Karen. Kevin, I thought you lived forever. So I suppose you are off on a new adventure. It's an integral part of your spirit. You've always been ready to test the limits of everything. You always made friends easily. I can well imagine you reacquainting with childhood. Oh, can you hear me? Closer? Hello? Okay. I can well imagine you reacquainting with childhood and high school friends that have passed on before you. With the constant help of your loving wife and daughters, you have surpassed 70 years. By that, we are allotted in the Holy Scriptures. You are always eager to try out any form of adventure. At age 10, living in Spray, Oregon, a small logging town where you were caught hanging by your knees from a single wide wooden bridge over a swollen river, a logging truck driver who saw you just in time stopped his fully loaded logging truck, grabbed you off the bridge, spanked you, and brought you to our mother. At age 11, you were riding your bicycle on the streets of Prineville when you were hit by a car and broke your leg. Later in 1956, you saw the movie Trapeze and thought you'd try it out. You hung by your knees from the limb of a tree in our yard. The limb broke, your arm hit the ground, your head hit your arm, and broke it. The ER doctor looked disdainfully at you and said, "You again?" Later that same year, our dad passed away. We moved to Tacoma, Washington, and you made a new crop of mischievous friends that you stuck with through high school. In junior high, you got in trouble and were sent to the office, and that very same afternoon at the science fair, you won first prize. The poor principal just shook his head. You got into trouble more than once, but getting away with it, you graduated from high school and joined the Air Force. You found plenty of mischief to get into there, but managed to do your stint and get an honorable discharge. Then you traveled to the Midwest and on to the East Coast, where you met and fell in love with Maurice. You and Mo did some world traveling before and after you became a dad. Creative, you dabbled in art and writing, and self-published 3 books. Not giving up after being diagnosed with Parkinson's and encouraged by your wife and daughters to keep up with life, you continued to keep up your lifestyle. You were generous to help others where you could. Those of us who are left behind will surely miss you. Hope your eternity is all you hope for. Love, your sister, Karen.
Thank you, Michelle. Julian? As you know, Kevin is a man of many talents, and I hope that you will find time to look at his paintings that are all over the garden. I'm sure not very many of you know that he was actually an artist. So Julian is going to say something about him as an artist, but also as a brother-in-law. Julian.
Thank you, John. Hello, everybody. I'd like to talk a little bit about Kevin in the art world. As long as I can remember, he was always an artist. And he even was a cartoonist. He used to draw cartoons for Philippine Exports newsletter. I don't know if you remember that. That's my sister's business in the 70s, along with some friends. They had a Filipino store here on Lee Highway, and they called it Philippine Exports. Yeah, and Kevin had a lot of interest. He loved to paint about space. You can see some of his landscape. He's got Jupiter and Mars. And he also liked to paint people, mostly his wife. That was his favorite subject. Most of his paintings you'll see here, there'll be a little sexy little girl, and that's supposed to be her. So look for that. And he liked to paint a lot about the Philippines. He knew more about the Philippine history than most Filipinos do. And he remembered dates just out of the blue. You ask him about Philippine history, and he can tell you about it. It's really something else. And he always looked forward to participating in brown strokes on a brown canvas, which is PAFC's art project. And we used to have exhibits almost every month, all over the place. It was a traveling exhibit. And we exhibited, John was one of the original artists. And yeah, so every month we try to find a venue. So we've shown in Martin Luther King Library, Philippine Embassy, and we even took it to New York and Miami, Chicago. It's been all over the country. And hopefully we can revive it now that everybody's here reunited. Long live PAFC.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's Kevin. He influences children, and you can see them, the works of Tanya Owens, Lucas. Her art is on exhibit right now at the Philippine Cultural Center in Oxon Hill. We have a library downstairs, and she has her works there. She has beautiful paintings. So that's Kevin Owens, the artist. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we're going to take a short musical interlude, and we'll have more recollections after this. So we have Gus Alzona, who is going to join us in this singing of 60s favorite songs, because that's the era. Most of you were not born yet, right? But the 60s is an era where music was vibrant and inspirational and nostalgic. So I'm going to invite Gus Alzona and Julian as well to render some of Kevin's favorite 60s songs. And of course, you're welcome to join us and sing along. As you know, Gus and Julian are part of the Tutubi band. I know many of you have gone to Tutubi concerts at the American Legion, listened to their music, And I hope that now that things have gotten better, we can all go to their Friday night shindigs and listen and sing along with the music. All right, take it away, Gus.
Is this mic on? Okay, but John is going to have to lead us on this as the probably the best known Filipino American community leader here in the Washington area,
All right, what am I going to sing?
if not the country. So we're just going to be backing him up. And just to clarify what John was saying,
Putting me on the spot. All right.
Julie and I are actually members of what he named the Legends of Pinoy Rock, with many of us musicians in the DC area who've been here since at least the 60s, and I've actually been here since 55, but before the big migration, but who have been here in the Washington area, who had bands. Back in those days, it was rare to see Filipino-American musicians playing at mainstream clubs in the DC area, unlike seeing Filipino musicians on cruise ships all over the world, but I'm not going to go there. But anyway,
All right, what are we going to sing, Gus? What's the first one?
I don't know. It's up to you, John.
All right, let's sing Dream, Dream, Dream. I think that's one of his favorites, right? What?
Okay.
I think
Yes,
we can go along with the other amp. I think we have enough amp. Oh, you mean you can amp your guitar? Kevin, have you have something to do with Julian's guitar not working? I think Kevin's playing a prank on you.
Why don't we do Where Have All the Flowers Gone?
All right, let's do that.
What key? He's going to have to plug in though.
C, key of C.
Hello.
Okay. I'm a little embarrassed here. I haven't played this since the 60s.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Gone to young girls, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever? Caroline. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Okay, where did the young men go? Where have all the young men gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young men gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young men gone? Gone to soldiers, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? that's one of Kevin's favorites, right?
Yeah.
So behold the flowers. After the graveyards, they all turn to flowers. All right, one more.
How about Hey Jude?
No, he doesn't know that. But he used to sing Tom Dooley on G.
Oh, Tom Dooley.
Oh, okay.
Kevin sang that? All
I'm
right,
gonna have to
Kevin,
follow
Sing
you.
along with us, Kevin.
In the key of G.
All right, Tom Dooley on the
follow
key
you.
of G.
Oh my gosh.
Hang down
Your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy is going to die.
in a mountain, covered with her knife. Mother of the valley, cut her with his knife. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. This time tomorrow, reckon where I'd be, down in the lonesome valley, hanging from a white oak tree. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're going to die. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. Poor boy, you're bound to die.
Sorry, Tom. That's how this song goes.
Okay, we're gonna sing some more of his favorite songs later on when we get our equipment
Right.
fixed.
Well, thank you, Julian and Gus. More music afterwards?
Yes, we'll be back.
So, we'll be back. Okay, let's continue on with our remembrances, and this time we'll call on some friends of Kevin, and one of the longest friends is here today, Gary Marshall, will share with us his thoughts as well as, I think, he's going to read an excerpt from one of Kevin's books. Gary Marshall.
I'm going to read through the whole book. I think you're ready, right?
All right.
Thank you. Tell me if it's not strong.
Yeah, just get closer to the mic so you can hear you.
Kevin, Maurice, and Bailey and I first met at a forum in the
Closer, closer.
mid-1980s. Yeah,
closer
there
to
we
the
go.
mic.
Thank you.
Because we want to hear you.
I do too.
Yeah.
Oh. In the mid-1980s, we were trying to get rid of Marcos, and we went to this thing led by John and a few others, and after the program was over and we left, we got to know each other because we had sitting next to each other, and we discovered, hey, we have a lot of common, and turned out we had more in common than we imagined because Kevin and I both enjoyed science and astronomy and thinking about the planets. Then about 12 years ago, I discovered that Kevin had a special interest that was sending colonists to the colonies on other planets. And I thinking that, wow, that's out of the box. Kevin was in the Air Force, and on their base in California, when they had nothing to do, he and his buddies would design and create and launch rockets that would go up, come back down, crashing, and they'd do it over again. Today, if you're interested in science and space, well, you probably just go to the Air and Space Museum in D.C. or the Museum Annex out here in Fairfax. But nice thing about the annex is it's got a great resource library that Kevin could have gone to, but he did it all on his own before the annex was built. He was constantly reading about space, science fiction. How would they ever live on Mars, and how would they live on the moon and still survive? He was especially interested in what going out into space would cause harm to him, and how they would overcome it. And I'd like to just read to you something from the book that he wrote. The history of human enthusiasm for the Martian frontier began actually in the 1890s, when American astronomer Percival Lowell published articles describing the red planet as an abode, a place for life. Using the Arizona Observatory where he worked, Lowell saw dark agricultural regions on that desert world that changed colors with the seasons. And he mapped webs of canals designed to move water from the melting polar ice cap down to the equator where there was no ice. Other reputable astronomers, not all, but a bunch, supported Lowell's Martian life theories and observations. And enthused fiction writers transformed Lowell's Martian theories into stories about Martian civilizations with tales like H.G. Wells' 1898 War of the Worlds, and Edgar Rice Burroughs' 1912 Princess of Mars. These adventure stories motivated young engineers like Robert Goddard and Werner von Braun to attempt to design and build spacecraft capable of going to Mars. Today, only a little more than 100 years later, Earthlings are much more realistic about why we might go to the moon or to Mars, and hopefully very carefully preparing for the challenges of actually living on Mars. For decades, Kevin has been reading and researching all the many practical and imaginative ways of pioneering a life on the moon and on Mars. These days, Mark Maurice has been trying to reorder the house of Kevin's boxes of notes and attached articles from periodicals and books that I assume he used in preparing his books. Can you imagine? He's been going at this for decades. On occasion, the first novel, which was self-published in 2009, was Martian Panahovirus. This is the one that's been around the longest time. And it's really a great book. I love it. The little crib shop there in the front says, an epidemic begins with a young Filipino prospector escapes from Mars, but he's infected with a Paleolithic virus. On occasion, Kevin would share a short chapter or so with my wife and me. I was hooked. I loved the articles. I loved these excerpts. And as soon as I could buy Kevin's book, I read it cover to cover. But more than that, wow, a friend that I knew well, who published science fiction on something I like to read. And there are even Filipino and Asian leading characters in this thing. But there's much more. Kevin's story is really alive with creative storylines, colorful characters, realistic descriptions of the Martian landscape, and descriptions of the geological features on Mars. As the action in the book evolves, you begin to grasp very quickly the challenges of the existence on Mars. It's wickedly cold, nearly airless. For example, if you even begin to think of death on Mars in a very different way than you would think of death on Earth. It happens very differently. Together with Kevin, when you read the book, you imagine how scientific advances in the next 200 years, so Kevin's books are in the neighborhood of 200 years from now, how they would have made advances that would enable people to establish a real civilization on Mars or on the moon and thrive. I think it's fun, part of the fun of this novel is to take note of all those novel approaches that were used by Kevin and his colonists on the planet to thrive. How did they do that? Martian Panahon virus is named after Apollo Panahon, the young Filipino miner who loved exploring the water-carved tunnels and caves, because there was water on Mars at one point, but that was millions of years ago. At one point, he finds that what looks like a very small, well-preserved, but old fish in one of these tunnels. He takes it back to the modules where he can take off his protective gear and study this thing. You have to defrost it first. It's been frozen for a million or so years. He examines it in every way possible for an unschooled young man. And finally, in the tradition of his mountain-born elders, he decides to taste it. The resulting virus causes strange mental sensations that he doesn't understand and makes for an interesting introduction to the next level of Kevin's view of future space exploration. And that's more or less where I'd like to quit, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about the other two books too. This is Marsquakes. This one's about a civil war. Well, imagine that yourself here in the 13 colonies of America, and you have British troops coming over to tell you what to do and how to do it. And that's what the Earth was. Earth, United Nations or whatever government there was for Earth, was doing to Mars. And so they had a revolution. And then the other book here, Cryogen Mars, as we were just talking a moment ago, that there's ice on the polar caps of Mars, and hopefully those canals are routing that water down to the equator. It didn't turn out to be that way, but there was a very ingenious inventor in Cryogen Mars, and they had a wonderful device that they made. It went anti-gravity, and so you didn't have to worry about propelling yourself up off of Mars. You just sort of turn on the engine and you just sort of float up. It turned out to be very important to Kevin's ultimate objective in these two books. They sent some people from Mars all the way to the next solar system, about, what is that, 20 light years away? And that's part of the story, because the virus enabled people to communicate not only from here to them, but there, and it was much, much faster than time.
All right.
Well, thank you, Gary, for describing the books that Kevin has published, and I'm sure that many of us here will be interested.
I forgot something.
You forgot something.
Yeah, Marie said she's got copies of the books up there.
Oh, there are copies of the books. All right, for those who are interested, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for letting us know that there are copies of the books. Okay, you know, there are many other dimensions to Kevin. So an author, a writer, an artist. But I'd like to call on Eric Lachica now to also talk about the other piece of Kevin that maybe some of you don't know about. Eric?
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's really an honor to be here. I'm so happy to recall the fond memories of Kevin. I just want to say that thank you, Tanya. You know, Michelle was also the first name of my daughter, Michelle, and of course Maurice. I've known Kevin for almost 30 years, since the 1990s, and I was introduced to Maurice by Linda Yangas back there when I was working for the U.S. Census Bureau as their community outreach person in Los Angeles, and Maurice was working for the Census Bureau, and I think it was a training session that we met, and we just hit it off when I met Maurice and Kevin, and I remember, I think it was the Cory Aquino dinner, remember that, at the Capitol Hilton, when I sat down with Maurice and Linda and Kevin. I just want to say that from that early beginning, it was a great conversations that we've had, especially dinners at Kevin and Maurice's dining table over the past 30 decades. And as many of you know, their home was a place where many of our friends from different parts of the country, from the Movement Free Philippine days of Raul Manglapus, recall, where's Maurice? And we used to have our meetings at their place, especially during the terms of President Ramos, during Estrada. And as you probably know, Kevin was very political, and Gus knows this, right? And Kevin was my favorite Republican. I can say that. We had very great debates over the dining table, especially on history. And I'm finally glad. The first time I remember talking about presidential politics, he finally admitted that Richard Nixon deserved to be impeached. I just want to let you know. So I just wanted to highlight that anecdote. And over the years, he has been very helpful, dedicated driver, companion of Maurice to many of our rallies. I was talking to Maurice. Do we have photos of Kevin in our protest in front of the White House and at the Philippine Embassy? Oh, he was always taking pictures. He didn't have a chance to be in the picture. So we found several photos during the U.S. Filipinos for Good Governance protest on the burial of Marcos Sr. 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So he was there. I just want to let you know he was very involved with our community, and I'm deeply appreciating his support to our different movements for democracy in the Philippines, at the risk of being blacklisted by the Marcos regime in the early 80s. So in many ways, if you go to the Panahon virus, the book, in many ways very energizing, but it gives you an idea of the two cultures. The marriage of Kevin to Maurice is reflected in the book. I don't know how many of you guys read that book, the Panahon virus. You guys got to read it. It's very, very unique. It gives you a perspective, right, Tanya, of the cultural differences and how Kevin, as the author, sees it as a blessing. In many ways, Apollo Panahon, the young Filipino miner at 18 years old, who was an OFW, the first OFW in Mars, right? He was an illegal worker by this mining company, American mining company on Mars. Yeah, because it was a lot of social justice issues right there. And he explained why the exploitation by corporations of workers, overseas workers. And that was really amazing, especially they came from Baguio, from Maurice's hometown, right? So in many ways, the book that you should read, because in many ways, I was rereading it, I saw similarities to many of our experiences as immigrants, how we try to acculturate in America. In many ways, the Panahon virus is kind of prescient. It shows you that it was written, 2010? A lot of things have been happening. We just survived. Many of us should be blessed, right? We are survivors of the pandemic. So we are not, the book gives you that excitement, the challenge. And in many ways, he was a fan of the 1912 author Edgar Rice Burroughs. I mentioned this anecdote. Just in the coincidences in life, my brother-in-law happens to be the grandson of Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote the Martian Chronicles of John Carter. And I was telling Maurice this before I went up here, is that I was so excited to reread the book that when I go back to Los Angeles and talk to my brother-in-law, who is John Burroughs, I'll propose to him to do a sequel to the movie John Carter of Mars. It came out, by the way, it's now on DVD. So with the permission of the Owens family, I'd like to pass it on to our friends in Hollywood that I've met in the past. So the twists and turns of our lives here in America, as our dreams for a better life, as Kevin said in his autograph, his note, he's saying to Carolyn and I, he said, sometimes dreams are more than whimsy. Sometimes they are glimpses of things to come. It's so prescient. We have right now, I think the launching has been delayed, right? The Artemis NASA space rocket that's supposed to go to Mars. By 2026, we're going to be men and women of color will be landing on Mars, or the moon, to set the stage for the Martian adventures in the future. So I said that to Maurice that I'll be talking to some friends to think about getting a Netflix production on this issue, because it's very hot. If you are regular Netflix viewers, they're doing a lot of science fiction. So this would be a great legacy for Kevin's work. So thank you so much to you all. I was really honored to know Kevin and Maurice and the great family. And thank you for so many dinners and picnics at your place. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Our last speaker will share another dimension of Kevin. And after this, we will invite anybody to also share their thoughts and recollections, briefly. So, Sunny.
Thanks, John. Well, you can see that Kevin was quite the Renaissance man, quite a polymath. He was dabbled in the art. You have his paintings, you have his books, you have his beautiful family. What hasn't Kevin done? Well, the aspect that I'm going to talk about Kevin, that he was quite the military historian. And, I fancied myself as a military historian of sorts. I taught at the military academy, both military academies, both at West Point and in the Philippines. So I think I know a little about the subject, but every time I gave a lecture, Kevin would sit in the very front row. And he'd just be staring at me. And so I'd be looking at him, I'd go, is he smiling? Is he agreeing? Is he moving his head? But it was just staring at me intently, boring through my very soul here. Everything I was talking about. I talk about Aguinaldo, I talk about Bonifacio, I talk about all these things. And Kevin wouldn't say a word. He'd just be staring at me. So I said, am I screwing up here? And I said, why am I worried about Kevin? Because in the audience were generals and admirals and politicians. But I kept focusing on this one man, Owens. Why is he bothering me? So every lecture, about 5 or 6 of these things, he'd just be sitting right in front. And then afterwards, I say, all right, any questions? Then his arm would go up. He goes, I have a question. But I'd never call on him. Because I knew he was just going to drill me. No, actually I did. And sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. Most times I was in the middle. But then afterwards, he'd say, Sonny, I need to talk to you about something you said. I go, what now? What is it now? He goes, you know, Aguinaldo was not like that. Marcos wasn't like that. MacArthur wasn't like that. You got it all wrong. I go, well, let's talk about Mars then. Let's talk about painting then. But then it was all done in good jest and everything. Then we'd have lunch, and then we'd continue the conversation. We couldn't talk politics because he was a hardcore Republican, and I am not. Very much so, not. But anyway, so I just want to give that his mind was always twirling and moving and everything. And you could engage him on so many levels. And even when the Parkinson's hit, we would wheel him in his wheelchair in. And then he had a reason to be in the front row, because you couldn't move the wheelchair to the back row. And so, okay, I'd always say, Kevin gets to ask the first question. But since he had Parkinson's, he was speaking kind of slowly, so I would pretend that the question he asked was something I could answer. And it also worked out that way. So I just want to say that I'm going to miss you, Kevin. I was a better academician for it. I'm a better person for having known you. And I'm not going to miss you being in the front. I'm absolutely not going to miss you. But then I know he's staring at me down in heaven. And one night, after I give a talk, I'm just going to hear this voice. It's going to come down from heavens, or Mars, or moon, and it's going to say, Sonny, I need to talk to you. And my answer will be, what now? So anyway, I'm just keeping you from anybody who else wants to say anything, because the very next speaker after anybody will be, after everybody else who wants to speak will be Maurice Owens. Thank you.
All right, Rami, come on forward. Yeah, we can entertain, a couple others, because I know you're all waiting to partake of the delicious smorgasbord that we have. Rami Valle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I woke up this morning and I got an email from Apus, which was sent last night at 11:28, and she was asking me if I can join some of the people who are gonna do an extemporaneous tribute to Kevin, and so I answered her, I'm not really as eloquent and as articulate as Sonny Busa extemporaneously. But I said, what I'll do is I'm gonna put pen on paper and I will just read it from the teleprompter. Since there's no teleprompter, I'm just gonna read my notes.
How many pages?
Palang naman. Lima lang. I just wanted to say a few words for a dear friend and buddy. A tribute of trials, tribulations, and true friendship. I wanted to distill the essence of the man from my personal vantage point, which is an arbitrary point of reference, which is mostly off tangent. I have known Kevin for a relatively short period of time, exactly 50 years. What is 50 years in the infinity of time when your friendship is timeless? With the longevity of this close association, we are not like strangers anymore, which was one of Kevin's favorite songs. Time flies, whether you're having fun or not. I wanted to cite a quote from American author Henry Van Dyke. Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, and too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity. Kevin was not a rhino or a MAGA, but a true Republican. Him and Beth Wong always had lively political discussions. Eventually, he transferred to a MAGA and became very bloated from the preponderance of conspiracy theories hurled his way. Kevin is a Pusoy Dos buddy of ours. We regularly played, even just a few months back, and members of a group like to play with him because he was easy to kill. He played the game like it was Perdigana. The other members of our foursome are Bingo Vino, who's here, and Rene Amon. Rene is unable to attend because he tested positive for COVID 2 weeks ago and still positive yesterday. In this new normal, it pays to have friends who are totally negative. Do you want me to tell a story about foursomes? Okay? When 3 people engage in sex, it's called a threesome. When 2 people engage in sex, it's called a twosome. And now I understand why my friends call me handsome.
PG. PG joke.
I loved Kevin because one of the few people who readily understood my jokes. I did not have to explain myself. There were very few things that went over his head. He is the quintessential good guy, very easy to get along with. He is very resolute. Even in darkest, hardest situations, he never complained. He kept falling and getting hurt with black and blue marks, and he just surged on. He was never a complainer. Just a little word for Pupus. She's a real trooper. She has sacrificed a lot in the last few years. She's a slight woman, and Kevin was hefty. And like someone who's gone and traversed the same hard road, being the primary caregiver of a disabled loved one for a number of years, I'm in awe of her dedication and accomplishment. A big salute and appreciation to you, Puss, for all your noble and altruistic deeds.
Yeah.
Also to daughters Tanya and Michelle and sons-in-law, Eric and Paul, for their complete support. Kevin embraced, loved, and celebrated Filipino culture. He never complained or got offended when people around him started talking to each other in their native dialects. But he was unable to fathom some of the Pinoy solutions, logics, and he felt a futility of infinite proportions in the following examples as shown. One, he said that, Romeo, why is it that when there are 5 Filipinos, there are also 5 organizations? And I remember that when they were in the Philippines, they took a bus going to Baguio, which was supposed to leave at 10 a.m. And so they went to the bus station at 9:30, And when they got there, the bus already left. And so he said, it's supposed to leave at 10 o'clock, and it's only 9:30. And somebody told him that, you know, the bus was already full, so there was no point in waiting. So it left.
Yeah.
One of the other things that he was kind of like hard to comprehend was when he said, how come when it's a birthday, when somebody has a birthday, then he treats everyone instead of the American way wherein when there's a birthday, you treat the birthday person. He might not have been a Nobel laureate, but he liked getting invited to Chinese laureates, and he is in fact a novelist. He published his first novel, which we all heard about from Gary. And the first novel was Martian Panahon Virus, which was as good in predictions like Nostradamus, as it was a precursor to the work, you know, on Martian. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And the Panahon one, Panahon or Panahon, it gave rise to the Filipino saying and song, weather lang. And the advent of the dreaded COVID-19, which all of us know what it is. Unlike Dyson, Kevin did not live in a vacuum because he did not subscribe to the idea that life sucks. Do you want me to tell another story about Kevin's success?
No more green jokes.
Okay, I'll just say this. There's 2 more pages, but I'll just
in conclusion,
I'll just say this last one. Okay. When I was in college, our professor said, if you wanted to become famous, you have to succeed. And then the blonde said, who is Sid?
who is Sid?
I still have a lot, but
I should have edited your remarks, Romy. I don't know what Beth is feeding you, but thank you for regaling us, Romy. We appreciate that. I know you can go on all night. Unless there's anybody else dying to say something, briefly? Okay, briefly. Come on, guys, because the food is getting cold.
Okay.
And Maurice still has to speak.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'll take this privilege as Kevin's longtime political ally since we met in 1994. I'm Gus Alzona. You can Google my name or read the CIA dossier on me. Been here since 1955, since Philippine and U.S. presidents come and go. Long story, long-standing family. Kevin, I first met Kevin in 1994, and here's what my memory of him goes. At that time, Rita Herona Atkins, who I met at that time too, said to me, Gus, what are you going to do when I was first running for office in support of the Filipino-American agenda? And I looked at her like, what the heck are you talking about? So I had to go ask Kevin, you know, what's this woman talking about? And then he explained to me, and I said, no, thank you. But anyway, that being said, my fond memory of Kevin is just always running into him at Filipino-American events. I thought, there was somebody who is, at least with me or with us, 90% of the time. So I thought, thank goodness in this seat. But anyway, Kevin, you're up there, and I just wanted to say to you, that statement, God bless you. I wish we had spoken the last, oh, there we go. Well, his soul is up there in heaven. And I'd say to you, a toast to Kevin, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you, guys. You know, we'd like to give Maurice an opportunity, of course, to respond to all the remarks. But let me just say something very, very personal about Maurice, because I've known her for, it seems like, ages, and we've aged gracefully together. But you know, she is the depth of caring, courage, and counsel. She is the depth of caring, courage, and counsel. And I can never say enough about how much I admire her spirit, her resilience, her patience, her hard work. She's done a lot of heavy lifting, not only for Kevin, but for our community. And I think it's only appropriate that we acknowledge what Maurice has done for our community, how she has made a difference. I like her because we see eye to eye. But Maurice, we love you, and please come forward and share with us your thoughts. And as you can see, the day has become lovelier and more beautiful. And this is a gift to all of us from Kevin and Maurice and her family.
Hello, everybody.
Here. Up to the mic.
Oh. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm very happy and grateful that my dearest Kevin Owens, my husband of almost 50 years, devoted father of Tanya and Michelle, doting grandfather of Jaden, Asia, and Phoebe, and my lifelong friend, is being remembered today in a very special way. I am profoundly touched by your recollections of him as a colleague, a community advocate, an artist, author, and writer, a military historian, and a proponent for space exploration, and a co-conspirator and partner in various Filipino-American projects that you have all been a part of. You all had a role also in giving him opportunities to serve our community and country, and I will be forever thankful for that. As I look at all of you now, I remember fondly how we worked closely together in various capacities to create, for example, the biggest Phil-Am festival with parades that went up and down the main streets of Washington, D.C. And we did this for many years together. We held forums about topics that mattered to us as Filipino Americans. And we organized concerts, art exhibits, award presentations, and cultural presentations to share our rich heritage and history with the American public. And often Kevin was part of these. He listened, made suggestions, wrote articles about them, and helped in the heavy lifting. We accomplished together many remarkable things. In this process, we not only strengthened our community, but we also formed deep friendships. We've all been together for years, decades, as a matter of fact. Life has been good. The relations we have forged over the years have been truly meaningful to me, personally, and to my family. When my mom was still alive, among her greatest joys was her involvement in community life, serving and caring for others. She passed that on to me, and it makes me proud to be her daughter. Your presence this afternoon and the many messages from those who are not here are so heartwarming testaments of our friendship. And for that, I love you all. I love you all.
Thank you for being here with me and my family today in our time of grief. It means so much to have you here to hold our hand, to hug us, and console us. It is very comforting and reassuring, and I'm sure Kevin is happy about that. Special thanks to you, Saras and Sunny, who opened their beautiful home to us, and to all the volunteers who helped out. I hope we can all continue to get together. And with the spirits who have gone before us, let us continue this lifelong friendship that will surely, and without a doubt, endure the test of time. Salamat ulit sa inyong lahat. From the bottom of my heart, thank you and God bless. Salamat.
Okay, before we line up for refreshments, I just want to make a few announcements. You know, as I said earlier, we are, many of us, in the September of our lives. We have friends who are in hospitals, who are trying to recover. Warrior Sarkon just texted me and said her sister just unexpectedly died. So let's keep him in our prayers. Celia Donahue's brother is in ICU, so let's keep him in our prayers. Mr. Ladinis, a Filipino veteran, is also trying to recover. I know that there may be others as well who need healing graces, so let's think about them as we continue this celebration of life. Thank you to Joe and Eileen Mafnas for the chairs. Thank you to Apo, Ferdy, to the accountants, Bobby Tamayo, for the setup. And thank you all for those who contributed and donated to this event. We really appreciate you coming here to express your love and to honor Kevin's memory. So for the closing song, we are going to sing. Please look at your song sheet.
Song hits.
Song hits, as they say in Kapampangan. Song hits. Where's Carolyn? Carolyn.
I'm ready to put my ukulele away, but I will take it. I didn't know there was this part.
All right, come here. Sing with me. All right. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies and the dark clouds are away. So when you say hello to the folks that I know, tell them won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you soon me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know when, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. One more time. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that if you cannot go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. All right, those 50 and above, you'll be the first to fall in line. The buffet table is right behind you. So let's all stand up and get ready to feast on the delicious food that has been prepared for us. Sonny, do you have any announcements?
John, could we have group pictures before people go home?
Okay, the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna move the chairs to the tables over there, and then we're gonna have to set up here the other tables. It's gonna be like a military operation. It won't take more than 6 minutes. We've already practiced. So what's gonna happen is, I've got my team move chairs over there. Then we're going to move some tables here. So just bear with us for the next 6 or 7 minutes. Have a drink. All the liquor's out there. Thanks.
Could we have the group picture now? Can we do the group picture now before people go?
Okay, hold on.
Can we have a picture? People will be leaving after. Yeah.
Picture.
Picture
Group
time.
picture.
Group picture.
Group picture.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody here.
I know some of you guys are leaving early, so could we have a group picture with Kevin right here in front? Really quick, we can bring up some chairs and people can sit with a row of chairs in front. Maurice,
Where's Kevin?
Here.
Right here is Kevin.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Watch it. Cheers. Halika tayo para
And I only saw it this morning.
Tanya, Michelle, could you come up?
Set up the table. We're going to set up the table. Ladies, we're going to set up the
Hey guys.
Men working.
Tanya. You're welcome.
Eric, join us, the family picture with the friends.
Go that way. Want to do it that way?
Michelle Owens, could you join us here for a group picture really quick so we can...
Paul Martin.
Paul Martin, come up front for a group picture with the family and friends.
Omar.
Could we have the friends stand behind
Paul, where's Kai?
Maurice and the family?
Take to the bathroom.
Omar.
Okay, everyone, let's have a group picture.
Friends, Romans, and countrymen?
Yes.
Take my phone.
Yeah, it's run out the battery. It clicks off.